let's think about how much time we spend just trying not to put our weight on other people, lean in too much, weigh them down, burden others, right? That is the quintessential experience of being a woman in this world. Don't you dare be too much, inconvenience others. I feel like I am only now, and I'm going to turn 53 next week. I'm only now feeling like I can just be me. Hi, I'm Sarah Schmidt. I'm 52 years old, and I can honestly say that I have never felt better. For the first 50 years of my life, I navigated some pretty fucking hard things that I like to call my Wholey Schmidt moments. They include things like being diagnosed with cancer, navigating my sexuality, adopting children, two divorces, losing my dad, and having a biological child in my 40s. After decades of some really, really hard work, I have fallen deeply in love with myself and my life. Turns out that embracing the magic and the expansion that comes with getting older, it isn't a bad place to start. I'm here to prove that life doesn't have to decline with age. In fact, it gets a whole lot better. On Wholey Schmidt, we are going to dive into my curiosities around wellness and longevity and mindset, and we are going to do it with really vulnerable, thoughtful conversations with people that I really love and admire. This season, we are going to celebrate and honor growth and transformation and find profound beauty in connection. Welcome to the show. It's an incredibly amazing experience to launch a podcast. It's even better to finish a second season. And I'm really happy today to share this episode with you, our final episode of season 2. You're going to get to hear from Grace and Jess and me on all the learnings, all the things that we harvested from our season together. And I would love to hear which of those resonate, and more importantly, what you learned and gained from this season. Stay tuned for season 3. Feel free to drop us a note of topics and guests you would love us to entertain. And here's a fun little thing that's happened. I launched a TikTok. You can find me at Ask Sarah Schmidt. Every day, posting content, advice, thoughts on all things parenting, relationships, wellness. So enjoy this show and know that there's more to come. I'm developing a love affair with Iceland, and it's kind of peculiar to me because I've always felt like every time I take a trip, I felt a certain pressure to pick a new place that needs to be on the list that I'm going to go explore. So I don't want to go somewhere that I've been before because then I'm wasting the trip, right? Like everything has to be in my world like so maximized for, like how many boxes can we check with this one thing?
I love it.
Like, these 50 calories have X, Y, and Z.
Oh my God.
I think about that shit. Oh, it has protein, but no fiber, whatever. But this country has my heart in like all these ways. And I think, I was thinking about it as I was there because I saw a different part of the country. It's a very small country. There's not even 400,000 people that live there.
Wow.
And I've now been there 3 times, and every single trip has been completely different, full of totally different activities in different parts of the country. And it's tiny. And I can't wait to go back.
We should make a little Iceland city guide. I feel like you would have a great little map of everything to do.
I want to host a retreat there at the place I just was with women who want to up level.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use the country and the landscape and the weather and all of it and all the experiences we can have there as a way to embody the up level. For me, there's no greater way to push through something I feel that's an obstacle or a fear by embodying it in a physical way and moving through it that way. And I think for me, a lot of this trip was a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. And you could have said, well, of course you're afraid. You're going to go heli skiing. You should be afraid.
Yeah. Tell people what your goal or what your reasoning for going on the trip is too.
And explain what heli skiing is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love downhill skiing, and I learned about the, option for us, for people, instead of using a chairlift or a gondola or a T-bar or a tow rope, you use a helicopter. And instead of skiing runs that have been mapped out by, resorts everywhere, you land on the top of a mountain and you have a guide who looks at the terrain and says, we're going to ski that line.
Wow.
And the snow isn't groomed and it hasn't been packed and there's no sense of the base, and you're going to avoid rocks, and the wind has done its thing to it, and you may or may not have crusty hard ice or thick juicy creamy powder. You might have all of that in a run.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get to the bottom of your run and you're going to take your skis off and pile everything up and crouch down on the ground and hold it all there so that when the helicopter comes in and lands 2 feet from your face, it doesn't blow away.
Wow.
And you're going to get back in and go up to the top of another mountain and do it again.
Wow. That's crazy.
We're going to need a couple more sessions with Joni before we get to there.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ready for that.
And I mean,
I'll watch you guys from beneath.
There was a run that we took where we were at the top and we had to come in over a cornice. If you've ever seen the top of a mountain, the snow is blowing and drifting and it creates this ledge. And then and then literally there's like a ledge off the mountain and then it comes back in. Well, we skied off that, it's called a cornice, and you drop in on a vertical slab of ice. And you dig your skis into the side and you grip and you have to lean down to keep your balance, but you really want to lean up the mountain, because that feels so much safer. And all of those things that I've been working on in my life, like I need to lean into the challenges. I need to lean into the discomfort. I need to, it's all of that is what is required of you when you're skiing.
Right. Tell us about your relationship with skiing, because I feel like over the last year, it's been the medium for like so much growth and transformation for you, and you've gotten so much better at it. And like even the notion, like that sounds horrifying, that like you would be like, yes, this is fun. I'm going to be fine. I know that I have the technique to do it. Like it requires so much self-trust and so much practice. Like tell us all about that journey.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who probably do this much easier than I do. But for me, if you listen to season 1, there was a journey for me in developing trust in my body. And that was taken from me when I was 20. And I went on a journey to try to find it again. And I struggled in major ways, like to do that. The world doesn't actually, I think, help women trust themselves very easily. I mean, I think we're almost groomed to be so highly critical and suspicious and nitpicky, standing outside ourselves, looking at ourselves from a distance all the time, that the experience of being in yourself and like feeling really confident, and boys, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. They're raised to be risk takers and daring, and they're praised for getting dirty and being physical and, like, oh, he's such a little daredevil.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, tell me the last time you heard somebody say that about a girl.
No, she's such a little princess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I wasn't even raised in that culture so clearly. I mean, my dad was really great about treating me as he did my brother for the most part, but I couldn't escape it like 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've tried to find my inner daredevil because I spent so much of my life so afraid. Afraid of making mistakes, afraid of doing it wrong, afraid of getting hurt, afraid of dying, afraid of, falling, afraid of breaking, afraid of not being able to, all these things, right? So, I mean, I didn't grow up skiing really. I mean, we had these little hills around us in Wisconsin. I mean, I joke now that it was like I learned to ski in a ditch. because that's kind of the comparable. And I did ski club when I was in high school. On Tuesday nights, we got on a school bus and we wore our jeans, and went to the mountain, and you went up on a tow rope or a T-bar. I hated it. I was so afraid. I was so socially awkward. I was cold. It was really fucking cold. And we were wearing jeans, that were wet and then frozen to your body. Right.
Horrible. Oh my God.
And it was kind of a dating scene. Like the girls were sort of trying to hook up, and I didn't know what to do with that, but I went anyway, and I was tired, and it was always late at night, and I wanted to be in bed when we were coming home because it was night skiing.
Did you actually ski down the run, Sarah?
Yeah, I did. I skied in high school. Yeah, I would go skiing.
I did ski club too, but I only did the bunny hill.
Oh my God.
And then I went right to the lodge to socialize. Like that was the goal of ski club because everyone interesting was doing ski club. So I was like, I want to hang out with them as soon as they get off the mountain. I don't care about skiing myself.
I do remember drinking hot chocolate on these picnic tables,
Wow.
Swiss Miss, the instant packets.
We had it, but I didn't do it, and I should have, because
you would have done really well.
Now I'm back on the bunny hill with Sarah.
Yeah, you crushed it this year. You got off the bunny hill.
We gotta go back. We
are going back.
I know.
Yes.
I keep telling everyone Donnie is on a lease in Aspen.
He is. He's on a lease. Your dogs have been added to the lease.
My dog. Yeah.
But I didn't go to a mountain skiing until I was in my early 20s with my family. We went to Whistler for a week, and that was a really great experience, except that it kind of wasn't, because my dad should have hired us some ski professionals to teach us how to ski and kind of take us around the mountain, because he was not a confident skier. But he, being my dad and always trying to figure out a way to save money, he found a kid at the bottom of the mountain who looked like he was high, who had duct tape all over his gear, his boots, his bindings, his clothes. I mean, he was duct taped together, and he offered him $100 a day to ski with us. So this stoner took us around the mountain for a couple days. It was great. And I remember thinking, like, I really like this, but I didn't have confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And, when you are afraid of falling and you are constantly saying to yourself, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, whatever you're doing, you're going to have a miserable experience.
Yeah.
I only learned, like, end of this season, what it's like to ski without tension, without being like this, because I skied like that.
Yeah.
And this year I learned to ski.
Wow.
Flow. I got in the flow of it because I stopped being afraid of falling.
That's cool. There's so many areas of our life that we just tense up and we don't even realize it. Like, I was getting a pedicure the other day, and the guy was sitting on the stool and my foot was resting on it, and my legs started shaking, and I realized I was doing everything I could to not put any weight on the stool that the pedicure guy was on. And finally I just relaxed and realized his weight was going to hold the stool, and he started laughing at me. And I realized how much time I braced trying not to put my weight on other people, but totally unconsciously.
Wow. That's a really powerful statement right there. Let's think about how much time we spend just trying not to put our weight on other people. Lean in too much, weigh them down, burden others, right? Be too much. That is the quintessential experience of being a woman in this world. Don't you dare be too much. Inconvenience others. I mean, I feel like I am only now, and I'm going to turn 53 next week. I'm only now feeling like I can just be me.
It's so interesting we're talking about this in the tension in the body piece, because this week I had my own like mini lesson of this where I've become obsessed with Benson Boone and I'd like listening to all of his music, and I was like, this is inspiring me so much, but I'm not a singer. I'm not a pop star. I'm not 22. Like, what is it about him that's so inspiring? And I was journaling and doing all this stuff like, okay, well, I like this or this. And then one of the things was like, when I was a kid, I would belt the Spice Girls and Britney Spears and dance in my room. Like that gave me so much joy. And as I got older, I took singing lessons. I was in chorus, but I never felt like a good singer. I felt like I had like power to my voice, but I could never hit the notes. So I just kind of gave that up. I was like, I'm just not a good singer. Like it's fine. And then the other day I was in the shower and I was like, okay, nobody's home. I'm going to try belting again. And the first couple times it was like bad, like really bad. Like I was like, oh God, it sounds like a donkey's in here. And then I relaxed and they had this quick moment and it's only happened a very few times whenever I tried singing, but it's like I was no longer aware of my body. I was no longer aware that the high note was coming up. I wasn't like, instead of anticipating the fall, I've always been anticipating the high note, and it just came out of me and I hit the note and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, wait, can I sing? Like, this is crazy. I was like, Daniel, is this possible? Have you heard of like people who were bad singers and now they become good singers? And he's like, yeah, that's really common. You have to work on training your voice. I'm like, this whole time I could have actually been a good singer or not. Who knows? I don't think I am permanently. I think it's just in those little pockets. But it's like the thing preventing me from actually hitting notes was my own body fearful that I wouldn't hit the note. And that was like crunching everything down and making me go sideways in all of my notes.
Wow.
Remember when we were in Sedona and we did the sound healing, the sound bath?
Yes,
Okay.
Sarah.
And at the end, she turned on Dionne Warwick. That's what friends are for. And I literally just started belting it out. And you couldn't tell the difference between me and Dionne Warwick.
No.
We were like, can Sarah sing?
Literally. What happened there? I mean, I know I have a singing voice, but when I think about trying to be a singer, I get all like, but I had all that MDMA and psilocybin and 6 hours of sound bathing, right? And then all of you there to just melt away, open my heart and melt away all of my defenses and what came out, but like the most ridiculously awesome singing voice, right?
Oh my God. So cool. Yeah.
Right? But I think that's such a great analogy, Jess. I mean, I was told all my life I should be smart. I needed to work on school, that I wasn't an athlete. I just got the message that I wasn't an athlete. Like I didn't have the right body for it or something. I really believed it because I remember when I was a cheerleader, I felt like I shouldn't be a cheerleader. When I was on the tennis court, I used to hope to lose so the match could be over and I could be done. Even in 8th grade playing volleyball, I remember once I served an entire game, because if you keep getting a point, you keep serving. And I couldn't believe that was me. It was like, it wasn't possible that was actually me that did that.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm 53 and I'm a really good skier. I'm like a really, really good athletic skier. And I do a lot of physical things that I'm really, really good at. And I'm thinking to myself, God, I could have done so many things had I not had all that shit in my head, all that tension in my body, had I not believed what they said, had I not taken all those messages to heart.
Yeah. I mean, I love this because it brings up this idea that it's never too late for anything. It's never too late to be the best, to fall in love, to become your best self, to become an Olympic skier. And I had the same thing growing up where I was like pretty A- naturally at a lot of things. But then I put so much pressure on myself. Like, will I ever be the best dancer? Would I ever try that hard? And I had this sense that like I had so much potential, but I never really leaned all the way in. And I like really carried that with me. And it was almost like a relief, like, okay, to graduate and not be in the school system or the after school sports. Cause well, if I don't have to worry about like maybe going to ballet every single day in order to become the best dancer. But as an adult, like once you can learn to totally free yourself and relax your body and drop in, like it might even be a better time to explore your potential in all of these activities.
I mean, I have this sense of like, what else might I be good at that I don't know?
Yeah.
I mean, this was really, it was interesting because I talked about doing this for about 4 or 5 years. And then we kind of got more serious about planning it maybe 3 years ago and had some false starts. And then this year at the beginning of the ski season, I just said to my friends, the 2 people I ski with out in Aspen, I was like, this is our year. We are going heli skiing this year. And I kept saying that until we booked it. I knew that once I booked it, then I'm in, right? Because, I'm going to pay for it. We're doing it. But the anticipatory anxiety I had leading up to the actual moment when I got in the helicopter was intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept using all my tools though. I was like, okay, what's your mantra? Like, are you breathing? And I realized I wasn't. I was like, and we're not thinking about helicopter crashes. We're envisioning how you're going to feel at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I settled into this sense of I'm so sated, that sense of you're just completely satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was trying to imagine. Like after a really great orgasm, like that kind of sated, when you're just like, whew, wow.
I was going to bring up orgasms because
I'm glad you did.
I was just thinking, like, you also cannot have an orgasm unless you relax your body.
No.
And I have been having that experience recently of like, I notice I like so tensed and I'm like wanting to have an orgasm and I'm focusing on it. But unless I just relax, you cannot have an orgasm,
Can't. No. I wanted to enjoy I didn't want to just get through the day either. You know how sometimes we kind of white knuckle things like, all right, I'm just going to get through it, grin and bear it. That is not the experience I wanted to have. So it was the craziest thing because we got on that helicopter and it started, it's running when you get in, right? And so it starts to lift off and I started to cry. I was just completely overwhelmed that I was going to do it. Like joyful. And the first run didn't suck. And the second run was even better. And the third run was phenomenal. And then we had to quit for that day because the weather got bad. The light got super flat. And when you have flat light in these conditions, it's not a good thing. Because on a groomed run, you kind of know what you're doing. But in these conditions, you have to be able to see or you're going to like hit a rock or, go off a cliff, fall into a waterfall, it's Iceland. But then the next day, we skied the whole day. We skied like 7 hours.
Wow.
Run after run.
Oh my gosh.
Did you feel more confident as you went?
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah. I can't wait to go back and do it again without all the anxiety that I had going into it. It'll be even better because I'll have more energy and it'll just be like, oh, we're just going. I won't have all the cause I'm such a type A person and that I need to know how is this going to go? And you can explain it to me, but until I've done it the first time, I don't have kind of the institutional knowledge.
Right. Tell us about your coaches too, because also this isn't like the safest activity for everyone to do with just anyone. So tell us how to make it safe and supportive. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I train for skiing, and I have the incredible privilege of having 2 incredible instructors who've become my closest friends in Aspen. And they have done a lot of very adventurous skiing and a lot of heli skiing. So they knew what I needed to know before I should go. And so they did they're a husband and wife couple. And between the 2 of them, they were like working behind the scenes and sometimes not so behind the scenes to be like, you need to now ski this because this is what we will see in Iceland. And you need to now practice this. We're going to stay in this tight little lane because there will be corridors that you have to ski in and you better be comfortable with it. We're going to learn to side slip on steep terrain because there's going to be some steep stuff that you can't ski and you have to side slip it, or different kinds of things. And so they just slowly pushed me. I mean, they're very different. 2 of them. And sometimes I joke that I have 1 ski coach for each leg, but they just pushed me into uncomfortable places. And then we would just have to go do it again.
Oh my God.
And repetition for me is a really good thing. I love being coached and I love being challenged. And they also didn't let me kind of stop myself with my bullshit, I'd be like, I can't do it. This is fucking ridiculous. What were you thinking? Or I'd start to cry or something after a fall or whatever. And they'd be like, all right, Schmidt, let's go. Stop thinking, start doing. That's more Andrew than Joni. But my friend Joni, who's my ski instructor, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. The first weekend we skied together, I had a horrible crash. I tore all 3 ligaments in my right knee. And I came back to ski again. But about a year and a half after that, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And she nearly died. She needed a bone marrow transplant. She's got the kind of leukemia that 95% of people don't survive.
Wow.
And she came back to not just ski, but like just living her life. And I mean, we share that, that cancer story. Hers is just so much more intense than mine ever could have been in so many ways. But at the same time, she honors mine as much as I honor hers. And there's a part of like she's like a sister, like a soul sister. Last year, she had both of her knees replaced at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
And a year later, she's turned 60 and we are in Iceland heli-skiing and she's fucking crushing it.
Insane.
Wow.
My cancer surviving knee,
Replacement.
new knees, 60 years old, and I was like, Sarah, what is your fucking problem? Get on the helicopter. I'm inspired. I was inspired by those mountains. I wanted to be in them. I didn't want to miss out on this. Maybe the most challenging part of this trip was that I went, alone. I didn't have a partner. And when I first started imagining this trip, I was with my husband. And now I'm not with my husband. And so I had to decide, am I going to not do these things just because I don't have a partner? Well, no, I want to keep living my life. So at the end of the day, they went to their room and I sat alone in mine. And it was okay. Because I had done something and I had the mountains and I was just enjoying being with me, in my energy. I didn't have to wait for anybody actually, which was really great.
And you could do your sleep routine.
I got to do my sleep routine. I didn't have to help anyone get dressed. I didn't have to worry about what anybody else ate or if they ate or if they were crabby or, all the things that you do when you're traveling with people. But I think the biggest thing that I really, really used a lot of the tools that I've been working on for the last year, the mindset stuff, mostly, and it was like, Sarah, who are you? Who did you say you were? This is who you said you were. So go do it.
I wonder when you're having that time, how quickly do you clock, when you're, complaining or self-criticizing or, when your inner voice turns on and it's not sounding so positive, is it almost instant now that you notice it? Or is it retroactive? How is that like?
I hear it almost instantly before I can even get the words out. It's almost like I can feel it bubbling up in me. And it'll before it even gets to here, I feel it here, or I feel it in my gut now. Actually, my gut is the place where I feel almost everything. I start to feel that inner critic there.
Yeah.
Usually the inner critic comes out. I'm finding it interesting as, and I realized I didn't really answer your question about safety. And so I want to go back to it again, mental note, but because I think that's important. But my inner critic is often it's my ego. So my gut will be all churny. I'm uncomfortable. I'm nervous. I'm feeling like I maybe can't do something. I'm a little, and my inner critic comes out as a way to, I think, help my ego be right. Yeah, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Not a good idea.
Right.
But the minute I feel that in my gut now, I usually am like, hey, what's going on here? That's parts work, right? I start to talk to it. It's okay. I'm a grown-up. I made the right decision here. We got an amazing pilot. We have a safe helicopter. We have 3 guides. Actually, I had 4. Okay. I had 4 people guiding me on this adventure. You're okay. The worst thing that could happen here is not a terrible thing. You'll recover from it. So, I think that's a big skill.
Yeah.
To be able to hear those thoughts bubbling up and not squash them, respond to them. Because when you shut them down, they get louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jess, what is that like for you?
I noticed this in like my younger parts come out the most in relationship conflict or when Daniel and I have like difference of opinions on things. And one thing that we learned is how if any of the things that we're saying are black and white, like this is how you have to do it, or this is the right way, or we're enforcing that in any way on each other, that's immediate sign like the inner child parts have arisen.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like there's certain language, like if we're using black and white language, if we're using all or nothing thinking, if we're using like it has to be this way, if it's very rigid, I'm like, oh, yep, okay, there's an inner child part here, gotta attune to it. The somatic piece is really interesting that you can feel it in your body first, Sarah. I don't know if I have that skill yet. Like I can feel it maybe retroactively, but it first comes out with a line of thinking and I'm like, that didn't feel like me. Or it's like, ooh, that felt harsh, or like I can catch it there, but catching it in the body first, I haven't been able to do, or I guess I haven't tried really yet.
Well, this was such a big effort. It was a big push for me because I remember I told you guys I wanted to be more embodied. I actually, in the first season, I said I was embodied and I realized I really wasn't. And that really pissed me off.
But that's an amazing reflection, like, because you genuinely felt you were, but it was only in getting deeper that you realized, whoa, I was really like on this level and now I'm here.
So then it really bothered me that I maybe wasn't truthful because that, and then I had to go back and like double down on it to make sure I really figured it out. I also noticed I did something different too. Like normally when I am traveling, I train hard still, exercise. Like I didn't do that this time. I recognized that those days of heliskiing took a lot of energy.
Yeah.
The physical, mental, emotional, it was a complete mind, body, soul effort.
Yeah.
And I opted not to train in the morning before we went heliskiing. And there was a day when everybody was going to go mountain biking and bike back from a waterfall. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just ride back. I don't need to bike today because I knew we were going to go out the next day and ski hard. And I didn't want to feel wiped.
Yeah.
Like I decided to save a little. There was a little gas left in the tank and I decided to save it.
Yeah.
That is a very different Sarah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's huge progress. It's also interesting to have the option to do what you'd usually do and then decide to make a different choice. Like even down to like, I always make a coffee in the morning and deciding to make it at a different time. It's like you get out of the roboticness of like, here's what I usually do. And you actually start embodying presence. And you're like, well, what do I want to do right now? And today, though, does this feel good to me? Would that taste good to me? And I think so much of like the habit stacking conversation revolves around trying to get things to happen on autopilot because you don't want to have to think about them anymore. But how is that actually pulling us out of the present intelligence of like what would be right for us today?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think travel invites us into that because you have to recreate the routine somewhere and you start to ask yourself if it really makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't actually make sense to drink a gallon of water before you go on a helicopter to go skiing when you're a woman.
No.
Unless you want like, I mean, and there's 150-mile-an-hour winds gusting.
No.
You don't really want to have to pee outside. So you might make a different choice about how hydrated you're going to be before and you'll just maybe
Take a little electrolytes after.
We broke for lunch and I was so thirsty. I mean, I literally was like,
oh my God,
because I'm like, I don't want to pee outside next to the helicopter. I've like, you've 9 layers on. How is that even going to work?
Oh my God. Imagine falling over in the snow.
Falling over, dripping down your leg, all the things. I mean, come on. It's just not pleasant.
Oh my God.
But I think, it's gotten me thinking about what other things I want to do that I'm afraid of. And I don't mean like, I'm not going bungee jumping, I'm not going to go skydiving.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sort of like, what hard conversations am I avoiding? Or what other things am I what other things am I doing that's, are all geared toward kind of keeping me safe, that I need to really challenge myself on.
Right.
Because there is a way in which the older we get, the longer we live, the more our lives become kind of in this routine, right? And you can say, well, that routine is all about my wellness, or it's all for my mental health, or I have to be in this routine because of my children, but if we're really going to get honest with ourselves, a lot of our routines are self-protective. And so what are we protecting ourselves from?
Right.
And so I've been really looking at that a little bit this week as I kind of step back into my life, in my family, and the like very different environment back in Chicago, people all around me. Which of these routines are really serving me, and which of these routines are limiting me?
Right. Oh, I was just going to say, I like that nuance of what do you want to do, as opposed to like, so many people are like, I should push myself to do something scary, so I'll bungee jump. But if you don't want to bungee jump, you don't need to bungee jump. It's like, what is your soul asking you to do that would benefit you, that you want to do, that you're afraid to do? And I think that's a really interesting distinction.
Yeah. I feel like that whenever we get too comfortable, whenever we get like too safe, whether it's in your routines or in your habits or in your day-to-day, unless we like push ourselves, and you can feel that calling, you're like, oh, things are feeling like a little stale. I don't feel like I'm growing in the way that I was growing before. I feel like I need to kind of shake things up a little bit. And some people get that ping and they travel, or they book the hella skiing, or they prepare for the trip, or they do whatever. And then some people don't listen to it. And I feel like that's when like the rock bottoms happen. That's when things just get ripped from your life instead, because it's like, wake up. Like life is more than just this. You have a bigger purpose than just this. Like stop being so comfortable. I've seen it so many times. And I feel like this year in particular, people are facing it in so many different ways. And some of it's internal and some of it's external and some of it's the stock market and some, you know what I mean? Like there's just like a million one ways that there's this kind of like shake the snow globe energy of like, whatever construct we got fixed on that we think is like our version of the truth and we have to live this way and this is the right way to live. It's like, well, could there be a different way? A way that's actually even more aligned for you. It's kind of inviting us into that energy.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think even just knowing that, there can be so much fear that comes with letting go of routine or comfort, or even just trusting that even if the universe does shake your snow globe up and completely rearranges everything, it's going to serve you. It's going to be of your benefit. Like what we really have to fear is staying too comfortable and not actually aligning with our potential or our purpose. And if we like lean back into the trust that either we're getting the intuition to move forward with new choices or we're going to be divinely redirected, then that's going to be the less scary thing, even if breaking pattern feels momentarily more scary.
This is such a perfect conversation to end our season with. I didn't spend a lot of time really preparing for today, kind of intentionally, because I wanted to just see how this flowed for us, because part of this season for me has been just being in a flow.
Yeah.
Allowing things to flow. There's been a lot going on in life and it's been kind of hectic on my end. And, I tried to embrace that and really just trust that all these little episodes that we were going to do together and I was going to do, they were going to be what they were supposed to be. It's a little bit of a new, it's a different Sarah, who typically would over prepare. Some of that reflects a ton of trust I have in you guys, right? I knew that, especially these that we do together, right?
So fun.
We're going to just work. We're going to feed off each other, but also you do your parts so beautifully that I don't feel like I have to overfunction in this world, which is such a cool experience. Anybody who ever has felt like they have to consistently overfunction could probably relate to moments when you recognize you don't have to.
Yeah.
That is such a good point, because every time we sit down to record, it feels like no pressure. I'm just like, okay, Like the only pressure is I have to get camera ready and get out of my pajamas, but everything else, I'm like, I know whatever we land on, I have some ideas already bubbling, but like, let's see where the energy is and let's like ride with that energy. And it's always so good.
Yeah, totally. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, here we go, and we were actually chatting about the skiing before we started recording. And then we were like, wait a second, this is the
metaphor.
material. And it really spun into every single lesson that we've been learning together through the seasons of the podcast and like your personal journey. So what a beautiful metaphor to carry us through this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably the lesson I keep coming back to that relates back to the skiing and the podcast and just my life in general is this one when skiing. So if your instinct in your body is to try to like lean back when you're skiing because the mountain you experience it, that feels safe, right? I'm going to lean into the mountain because the mountain will keep me safe. Like it's our instinct to, gravity, being grounded. It's, it's up. It's easier to fall back than it is to fall down a pitch, all these things. But if you want to be balanced and stable when you're actually downhill skiing, you have to lean down the mountain. You have to be consistently leaning down the mountain. Regardless of what your feet are doing, your upper body is facing toward the bottom of the mountain, and you need to lean in that direction.
Yeah.
And all the bad falls I've had, except for the one where I was literally like a snowboarder crashed into me, which was not my fault. All the bad falls I've had happened because my left shoulder, when I start to feel like I'm unbalanced or I'm losing my balance, I throw my body back toward the mountain. And it causes me to lose balance and I fall.
Wow.
Every freaking fall. Okay. And this trip was no different. Andrew notices this. He notices all these details. And he's like, Schmidt, you're throwing your left shoulder back.
Wow. That's such a little nuance to
keep your shoulder
pick up on.
Keep your shoulder pointed down the mountain. And it was only my left shoulder on that one side. It wasn't the right.
Wow.
And so I mean, it was amazing. So we talk about like how I got really tuned into my stomach, giving me these signals. Well, I started to feel my left shoulder twitch.
Whoa. Like
every time I turned to the left, like it was ready to go. And I started to recognize the twitch.
Wow.
And the part of me that constantly wants safety. But I've got it all wrong, right? It's a Peter Crone message. It's the embracing the uncertainty. That's where the freedom lies.
Right.
Coming to complete and total acceptance that you don't know shit and life is uncertain is the key to joy, happiness, and ultimate freedom. Well, you want to be a good skier, you got to fucking lean down the mountain. You also have to lean into some speed. The more you try to, slow yourself down, the harder you're making it, right? The more tension you're creating, the more you ease into the speed. I mean, with a certain amount of, control. But it was pretty cool because I started to notice the twitch and I stopped it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I actually, there was one run, I was getting kind of frustrated because I had a fall and I had kind of a migraine the last day. It could have just been the way the light was reflecting off the snow and I got like a migraine aura and that kind of freaked me out because I was like, I don't think I want to hella ski with a migraine. But I was on the ground, trying to get back up, which is hard in that kind of snow. And I just started talking to my shoulder and I was like, what is your fucking problem? I realized I could be a little more tender.
Yeah. It literally doesn't feel safe. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
So then when I got in the helicopter, I did a little like moment and I was like, okay, come on. Seriously, we know the answer here.
Right.
You gotta let it go.
The left side is your masculine side. It's it's related to your masculine qualities. And I notice whenever I'm doing like,
why did you have to go there?
whenever I'm doing a lot of computer work or like stress, it is only my left trap that like tenses up, and I don't know what it is. I'm just sitting, and all of a sudden it's like I slept on my neck weird, and it's only my left side.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see how our masculine wants to take it, you know?
I think I said this maybe when we did the wrap up from season 1. Everybody should launch a podcast just so they have to hear themselves say some of this stuff out loud.
Yeah.
Because I still believe that you are your best accountability coach.
Mm-hmm.
If you really listen to yourself, what you say you want, who you say you are, how you say you're going to do things, all that kind of stuff. If you really listen, you are going to be forced to confront the parts of yourselves that need confronting.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, this is who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
This authentic, bold, we're going to tell it like it is, blah, blah, blah. Well, this season kind of further helped me refine that and step into it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I feel like where that's actually moving is you don't even have to try to be bold, or you just are bold. It's like each step of the way you do embody it more, to the extent that that's just how you present, as opposed to us traversing topics that go there,
Yeah. I do feel it's just like an incremental. I mean, if you took even a picture of me from even the end of last season to this season, this is, it's not over till it's over, folks.
I feel like you keep reverse aging every single season.
I feel, I said this at the beginning, in the clip we recorded for the beginning of the first episode, but I feel more vibrant than I did then. I have so much more peace in my life. I get now if I get really flustered and irritable, it's my blood sugar that's low.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, I'm a human being. I'm going to lose my shit occasionally, but it happens so much less frequently. Just in general, my demeanor is so much more relaxed and calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can totally feel it. It's true.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. So what are we talking about in season 3?
Oh my God. I want to really focus on relationships. I think, I've said this pretty clearly. I'm really excited to date again. And I have been. I've been playing around with it a little bit, just meeting people. I'm not looking to get remarried. I actually have told a few people that if I come to them and tell them that I'm getting married, they need to punch me in the face. One of those people probably will. Actually, you know him.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly who it is.
But I have really come to accept and see that, I have red hair, I am tall, I have opinions, I am smart. I am also a relational person. We all are, but I was uniquely built to be in relationship, and not just like have a million friends. I'm talking deep connection. I thrive on it. It is my jam. It is my fetish. It is my kink, deep connection. And I'm not going to live my life without it. And I'm not going to pretend like just because I got divorced twice, I shouldn't go after it again. Like I want to be in love again.
Yeah.
And I will be. I know that. I want to find persons to do fun things with, adventure, I want to experience things that I haven't experienced yet. And I've got a list of things that are still like out there for me. And, but I want to really talk about that because I think, there's a lot of people that are talking about dating, right? But not a lot of them are as old as I am. It was funny. We did that TikTok video about me talking about green flags.
Yeah.
And somebody posted a comment and said 2 divorces I'm good, bro, or something like that. And then another person, which I love, chimed in and was like, I'm not going to take dating advice from somebody who's been married for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was actually a funny comment. And then I thought, oh my gosh, we have a conversation going on our TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to see like what people's knee-jerk reaction is on that kind of stuff too, to be able to address like different kinds of fears and mindset and skepticisms,
Yeah. And I don't want to just focus on dating and, falling in love, because I also think there's room for us to spend some time just talking about the power of friendship. We touched on that a little bit with my mom this year. And, I've started to really kind of hone even my own perspective on like, how many friends does one really need? And what does it really mean to be a good friend? And what does reciprocity in friendship look like? And just some of those, and my mom is getting older, and my relationships with my siblings have changed so much over the last decade, for sure. I want to hone in on that, because I think ultimately our discussion has been around, when we started the podcast, it was all going to be about authenticity, right? But that requires connection to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so we got into that piece, and it's embodied connection, right? So we ventured into the wellness space, and how does one really develop a sense of embodied connection, right? By taking care of oneself, right? So, but now, what do you do with it? In my mind, it's great to feel good about yourself, feel at home in yourself, feel peaceful, feel connected. But for me, it's in the service of what, right? I want it to inform my parenting, my partnering, who I am as a sibling, as a daughter, as a friend, all those things.
Yeah, totally.
So
I've seen there's like this self-care meme I always reference that's like, I've done so much healing, I hate everyone. And I'm like, that is not healing. Like there's so many layers on your journey, I think, too. At first, sort of looking at what's under the hood, eliminating things from your life, feeling in solitude, and like you don't connect with the people in your current universe. But then as you're growing, you move out of that space and into one where you can connect more deeply with people that are more aligned. And I feel like we've really gone through that journey together. And it's cool to look at the inner work as the foundation, but not the destination for a rich life.
So good.
I'm very curious to hearing. I mean, we've had an amazing surge in listeners this season.
Yeah.
And my real hope is that we start to see an equal surge in conversation, among people who are resonating with the things that we're talking about. And, so, I mean, we haven't started filming the season yet, so I'm really curious what people actually want to hear. What guests would they like us to go after? What topics would they really enjoy us riffing about? I mean, clearly people enjoy the podcast at some level. So that kind of feedback, I think, would be like ridiculously exciting to get.
Yeah. Leave us comments if you're on Spotify or YouTube. And then Sarah's on TikTok now. She's answering really a lot of questions it's at Ask Sarah Schmidt.
Yes.
You guys are getting like really good pro level advice. So take advantage of it.
For my 27 followers.
It's growing every day, baby.
I did actually, we got 3 followers yesterday. It was like, whoa, that's a lot. Then we only have 27. That's actually a lot. It's been really fun for me too, because I do have a lot of life experience. And it's not just like I did it, but I studied it. I have a degree in it. I didn't just parent one child. There have been quite a few interesting challenges along the way. It feels useful.
Yeah. And like from a marketing perspective, it's also so fun that regardless of the followers you have on TikTok, it reaches people. It gets to the person who needs to see it, who leaves a comment, who likes and engages with it. And we've gone on such a journey with our content from like Sarah had hardly posted on the internet. Oh my God, had never talked to a camera before. Like we have totally like leaps and bounds, like
Isn't it
incredible,
crazy?
amazing work to the point where you're making awesome content all on your own.
On
Like,
my own, and then I edit it and post it.
I
I'm proud of
know
you.
You
it's
guys.
so good. It's like, it's incredible. That's also a doing something new thing.
Well, the social media world is
Mhm.
intimidating to me. And it doesn't come naturally for me to like record what I'm doing or eating or wearing and like tell everybody about it. That's not naturally, that's not my instinct. So I like the TikTok piece because I feel like it has a purpose. There's a focus.
Yeah.
It isn't just me being like, look at what I'm wearing, but apparently that's interesting too. And so maybe we'll do more of that. But I am a really lucky person. I am. I really am. And but I also recognize that the joy I feel is not just because I stumbled on it. It's because I chose it.
Yeah.
I went after it.
Mhm.
I pushed myself. I did some things I didn't know if I could do. I found people to help me and support me. I built a community along the way. I stuck with it when I felt like it maybe isn't for me or wasn't always awesome. Like there were a couple of moments this season where I was like, oh my God, and that piece is really powerful.
It really is powerful.
It's kind of crazy that we're going to record this a week. This is a week before my next birthday. I mean, it's really good timing because I get a little
Amazing timing.
reflective when I come around when we get to birthdays. I know you guys do too.
Yeah. That it's like I'm like referencing so many memes. It's like the guy who is like digging for gold and he's almost there and he gives up right before the last
and you
strike.
can see it's like right there.
Yeah, like the last strike, he's going to get to gold. It's the last 10%. It's like when it feels the hardest that it's most important to push through. And I feel like really this is the moment of us striking the gold and moving into a totally new space together and for the brand and for the show. And it's really cool to have those moments and be like, wow, look what happened when I pushed through, the fear or the sense of defeat or boredom or whatever. And look at all the gold that is on the other side.
Yeah.
So good.
How long do you guys think it's going to take before we launch our first episode of season 3?
It depends.
Whenever we want to record it.
Yeah. It's going to take us a couple months. I know that. I think it's going to, we're going to percolate a little bit here and then it's going to just flow.
Yeah.
I feel really strongly about that part.
Sarah, what would be your closing note to listeners from this season?
My closing note. I think I'll come back to what I said in the opening of every one of these episodes. The choice to take care of yourself, the moment you choose yourself, I think is one of the most important choices that any person, but especially woman, can make. And I hope that in listening to all these episodes this season and all the people we spoke to, that the message has been like loud and clear that choosing yourself is the very best way to love on the people you care about most. And I hope that women in particular everywhere, and men, because there's plenty of men who've been fed this bullshit line of self-sacrifice as the path toward, self-actualization and joy and all the good things. There's a lot of people who get to the end of their life and they're miserable. They got all the money and all the things and they're miserable. This year, I've really confirmed it. Like my kids are happier. My relationships are stronger. My family is more vibrant and peaceful. And the thing that changed was me and the way I decided to take care of myself. The way I decided to let go of things that didn't align and the way I decided to focus on the things that I needed to really focus on. And that reality has created a great deal of joy and freedom in our lives.
So good.
Amazing. What a great wrap.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next season.
Thank you. See you next season.